So another reason why my students just do so well is simply because of the way that we market our products. We have something called a market niche or an advantage. So if you don't know what a niche means, it's any advantage that any company has in their respective market. So Cutco's niche is the fact that most people don't really have high quality cutlery, right? They have the average knives that we use right here to cut the rope and leather. Now, even though this is what most people have, would any of you say, are they actively looking for high quality cutlery? No. Exactly. So when my students show them the product, show them Cutco, that's when they see that there's a need. And more often than not, they decide to place an order, even though at that time, they weren't necessarily looking to go to the store to buy high quality cutlery. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The cutlery industry, just so you're aware, is $1 billion a year. Just here in the United States, by the way. If you remember the numbers, we sold a quarter of that last year. So 25% of the nation's sales are coming from a privately owned company who doesn't even advertise. And again, it's not just because of the quality of the product, it's the way that my students go about showing it, and because of the type of product that it is, that's why we do so well. So because of that market niche, they typically want to focus on main people, mostly 30 to 6-year-old married ladies. Why do you think that is?
The ones that are always cooking?
Yeah, just stereotypical sports moms with families. So again, my students work on an appointment basis only. They only see somebody if there's an appointment set and the customer already knows that they're coming. So my part-timers, they'll do about 1 to 3 a day on the days that they choose to work. My full-timers, about 4 to 8 a day on the days that they work. No matter what, though, they do base their schedule on 3 main things. If you can jot down these 3 main things right here, I'll be covering that in a little bit too, but on their availability, their financial objectives, and their work ethic. So essentially how much time they have, how much income they have, or how much income they would like to earn, and how hard of a worker they are. So everybody's different in all 3 of these categories. That's why nobody has the same schedule. However, everybody does start off the same exact way. They all start off by seeing people who they know and people who they feel comfortable with. Now, why do you think they appreciate that they get to do that?
Just because they get more practice.
Yeah, and practice makes what?
Perfect.
Exactly. So this is, in our experience, the best way that they feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident with the presentation, and they also get good feedback from people that they know and people that they trust. So our students don't do any door-to-door. We don't flip through white pages to get people interested in Cutco, because if a product is supposed to be good, how should someone hear about it?
Through word of mouth.
And word of mouth is the most powerful form of advertisement. Who can tell me why?
Or trust factor.
Yeah, and that trust factor is huge. So raise your hand if you've been to Chipotle.
Yeah, definitely.
Raise your hand if you've ever seen a Chipotle commercial. I don't think I've ever seen a Ferrari commercial, or Lamborghini, or Rolls Royce. When a product is good, you don't need the advertisement behind it. So Cutco works the same way. So I already mentioned how my students start off with people that they know. I'm sure you're wondering how they expand from that. So I'm going to use an example of one of my students doing at least 5 appointments. I'll use Isabella Matute as an example. So let's say Isa does at least 5 appointments. How many people would you say are typically at your average wedding?
Oh, about like 100, 200 people.
Yeah, a couple hundred. What would you say is a small wedding, like 50, 60 people?
Yeah.
Can we just agree the average family knows a lot of people?
Mm.
Okay. So, again, Isa is not going to get recommended to a couple hundred. She usually focuses on her best friends and her family members. So the customer usually focuses on their best friends and family members. So the national averages, you definitely want to get this down, are 5 to 10. Meaning, from each of these appointments, Isa gets 5 to 10 new people to see. And all she does, at the end of the appointment, she just asks the customer if they know anybody nice enough willing to take a quick look at the presentation. So technically, she could get 10, she could get 20, she could get 30, 50 or more, but the national averages are 5 to 10. Reason why the customer is willing to do this is that, first of all, they will refer themselves. So they're already used to that whole process. Also, I mean, they love the product, they love the student, they really have no problem spreading the word. It's as if any of you went to a movie that you loved, or a restaurant that you had a great time. What's the first thing you did when you got home?
Talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Same thing here. That's why it's really important to me that I'm selecting the right representatives, because if you think about it, the only reason somebody wouldn't recommend someone is if they had a bad experience. That's why my students really have to make sure that they're being very genuine and obviously have that honesty and integrity, so that the customer would really have that good experience. So ESA averages about 20 appointments, or 20 recommendations per appointment. But let's just say she got the minimum of 5. That's still 25 people. And when she sees those 25 people, what happens then?
Well, she gets more people.
Yeah, she gets more. So let's say of those 25, she manages to only see 15. Again, if we're using the minimums of 5, that's still 75 recommendations. Are all of you familiar with the term snowball effect?
Yeah.
It grows exponentially. So as my students, are in the business a little bit longer, it gets to the point where their recommendations exceed the amount of time that they have to actually see people. Obviously, it's a positive problem. So what happens then is they just focus on their best people. People who are married, people who love to cook, people who live in a certain area. And if they start off in the area that they live in, where do you think most of their recommendations are going to live in?
Same area.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of my students just work in the same area that they live in. However, there's no territory restrictions. If they wanted to go to a different area, they definitely can. I've had my Homestead kids go to Kendall, my Kendall kids go to Gables, my Gables kids go to Davie if they want to. It's completely up to them. We also have something called our virtual presentation, which is essentially everything I just showed you in that blue book, just online. Has anybody heard of Prezi presentations?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't heard of it, it's like a fancy PowerPoint. And essentially, it's everything I just did with you right now. They just supplement it with videos. So we find the averages to be exactly the same, 250, 60% closing ratio, just because we have that 15-day guarantee, where a customer can always return it if they don't like it, just like eBay or Amazon does. But regardless, there are no territory restrictions. In training, I do teach both programs, and they can choose what they want to do from there. Now, since they set up their own appointments, they have a very flexible schedule. They can set up their appointments anytime they like, really, mornings, evenings, weekends, weekdays. And no matter what, though, I will sit down with them at the beginning of the week and just map out their schedule. See whatever they have going on. If they have school, if they have another job, if they have any extracurriculars or anything like that, we go ahead and work around that. So I don't expect them to have the same schedule every week. Things change, obviously. Things might come up, finals, families might go on vacation, or their job might ask them to take a different shift. Whatever that is, I just need to know their schedule for that week and that week alone. The week after, they let me know if they need to work less, if they need to work more, if they just keep working the same. So I'm going to cover pay right now. I definitely suggest you take notes on pay, just because there's going to be a lot of numbers, and I just wouldn't want any confusion.